Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the CEO Story. So, the CEO Story is a flagship program done by the admissions office at ISB, where we bring together alumni from different industries, different functions, different sectors, and where on a platform where they share their experiences of the program, what they were doing before the program, what triggered them to do a program at the stage of the career that they were, and how did the program go and how did it help them in their career. So this is what the event is all about. So we have three alums today, and I'll be quickly introducing them to you. So the first alum that we have today is Kaval Aluwalia. She is from the batch of 2018. Welcome, Kaval, to the session today. If you could briefly introduce yourself to the audience.
Sure. Thank you, Sumriti. So just a small, quick brief about me. I come from the banking industry, have been into banking, into the retail piece for about 18 plus years now. Have worked with various, large institutions in the country, to name a few, I would say, banks like ICICI, currently with Citi, and previously with ING Vysya. So have gone through, I would say, varied experiences in various roles and in various demographics across the country. Have seen almost all the major markets and with various product lines. So come with a good experience, I should say, good learning. And yes, I hope I'm able to add value to all of you here today. Thank you, Sumriti.
Sure. Thank you, Kaval, and welcome to the session today. So the next speaker that we have is Shyam Pila. He is from the batch of 2012. Shyam, welcome to the session. We heard a little bit of your introduction today amongst the chat that we had, but it will be great to introduce yourself to the group today.
Sure. Thank you, Smriti, for having me here today. I come from software background all my life, and that's what I know. I take the pride being the founding batch PGPMAX individual, right? So I really wanted to do PGPMAX program, and that's how this whole thing happened. Just to explain you all about myself, I did my engineering in computer science. I worked here briefly for 2-3 years in India, and I moved to US, and I lived in US for most part of my life until 2012. And worked for companies like NASA, Cadence, and Cisco. After Cisco, based on what I was doing at Cisco, along with a friend of mine, we went and started a company called Netfish Technologies, and we built a B2B integration platform. So, of course, we managed to raise money during those days, and we built the product, and we got some traction, and we were competing with another company called Web Methods. If, some of you are into software background, you probably understand. And we got acquired by a company called Iona Technologies, based out of Ireland, but a NASDAQ traded company. So we got lucky, we got acquired in 2002. And after that, once you're an entrepreneur, you wanted to continue the journey. And with another friend of mine, we were contemplating on what next we can really do. That's when we have seen the need for an offshore services company to help companies build the product offshore, right? With the 2001, dot-com melt, right? So a lot of companies were trying to do a lot of things in offshore, and they were, trying to have the captive centers, and they miserably failed. So that's when we thought we come and add value. So we built a company called InnoMind Software, and we built it. And again, we got fortunate, we got acquired. So for a couple of years, I was doing, advising a couple of startup companies, and I was investing in a lot of startup companies in the Hyderabad ecosystem, right? And after a brief break, I went ahead and, started another company called Cognitives and Technologies, which is exactly in the similar space. And, we are here. I continue to be part of several startup companies, but primarily I was just driving this company for the next level called Cognitives and Technologies, and looking forward to really have a discussion with you guys, and hopefully I'll try to add some value and answer some of your questions. Thank you, Smriti.
Yeah. Welcome, Shyam, to the session, and it was a lovely and quite an in-depth introduction of yours, but I hope people get to know you better during the conversation as well. So the next speaker that we have today is Rajendra. He is from the consequent batch as Shyam's, and is from the 2013 PGPMAX batch. So Rajendra, welcome to the session, and would really love to hear from you about yourself.
Thank you, Smriti, for this introduction. I belong to pharma sector, and currently I head the manufacturing operations of Lupin, which is having the manufacturing locations, 12 in India and 3 outside India, 1 in USA, 1 in Mexico, 1 in Brazil. I have been working with Lupin for last 26.5 years, and it's a long time. I have been there in the pharma sector, and I joined when I was a fresh engineer, chemical engineer, that way by profession. So having worked for 3.5 years for some other organization, my tenure with Pharma started, and I worked in various roles like putting up the plants for Lupin, then doing the technology transfer, and then manufacturing, then heading the global supply chain, and currently head the manufacturing operation. That's my brief introduction.
Thank you, Rajendra. Thank you for the lovely introduction of yours. And I'm Smriti. I take care of the PGPMAX program from the admissions end at ISB, and I'll be the moderator of the session today. So the way we are going to do this session, that I have collated some questions on your behalf, audience, that when we get to speak to you, we do keep a note of the queries that come to you. So I'll be asking those questions on your behalf first, and then we would like you to ask these questions to the panelists directly. So the way we'll be doing the Q&A session is you can write your questions in the chat box or the Q&A box, and I'll take it across to the panelists today, and they'll be happy to answer that. So I hope that's okay with everyone. So let's kickstart the session now. So the first question that I have for each one of you is, you were at a stage of your career where you felt the need of doing a program. So you might have your individual reasons for doing the program. So I would really like to know your reason of pursuing the program, and how do you think after the program the life changed for you? Did it fall into place of what you thought of, or did it completely change its course, and how did it augur for you? So we'll start with Kaval.
Sure. Thanks, Smriti. So, to begin with, you can ask me to shorten if required, wherever required. I understand we are, on a certain timeline here. So, but yes, this is one journey that I really love to talk about. And it's been, I think, one of the best journeys in my, entire professional as well as personal, I would say my life cycle per se. Okay, to begin with, so it's like, when you get into I would say a phase in your life, especially when it comes to your professional, career. So it's more like you are in a, I would say it's more like a, you're not at a junior level, but maybe one step above the mid-management roles that you are managing. So you are looking for something more because you've grown to a stage where it's like you're heading a region or a zone. I'm talking from the structure, how the banking operates, right? So you really need to grow yourself to the next level, and you're really keen on it. So what is it that you need now? So that's the first question that anyone, I think, would be asking himself or herself. So that's one thing that I ask myself, that okay, what do I need to do now? So where I was heading 2 regions for one of the large banks in the country, and how do I move to the next level? So So that is like, where you need to unlearn and you need to relearn. Now, the next question is, where do you do that? Where do you get all that knowledge that you are seeking for, or where do you get that experience which will add value to your, current scheme of things and help you grow further? So that's how ISB, is the first choice that, came into picture for me. Because coming with an experience of over 18 years, obviously I would not be uh, going in for courses which are, for maybe students, or for people who are coming with a small experience or a smaller experience of 4 5 years, and they're just starting their journeys. So with my kind of an experience, I think that's where ISB is what I chose specifically, because ISB uh, works very well in the domain when it comes to, learning and, I would say, unlearning and relearning, because you get to meet a very mixed cohort which is across the industries and which is across geographies where people are coming from. They're all coming together. And of course, the faculty or the profs that we, get to learn from, that's something which is exceptionally great. And you don't really get to experience that in, I think, any of the other larger institutions as well. What I have seen, a lot of my colleagues, a lot of my friends are from other institutions as well, who have undergone such courses at other institutions. So this is one differentiator, and of course, getting the, international experience during the entire course, that really adds on a lot of value, because you're getting exposure not just within the country but outside as well, and that really adds a lot of weightage to the entire program. And you're getting to see how uh, the education system as a whole is operating across, globally, I should say. So yes, that's one of the major key reasons, I would say. That's where I come across. So for a mid management, from a mid management role and moving to a larger national level role, ISB really played a large uh, you know has a lot of, I would say, input for me, where it really helped me move to that level in the industry. So which is definitely really great for me as an individual, I should say. And of course the learning. So there's no absolute doubt on that front, because the exposure that you're getting, that's adding on to your experience overall, right? And moving from a business role to a strategy or a business strategy, or a decision making roles, is where ISB plays a large role in, developing those skills for you as an individual. That's where I would say, ISB is adding value, or has added value for me.
Sure, sure, Kamal. Thank you so much for us answering that question. Shyam, what you told about yourself is you've been, you have been an entrepreneur, and before that, you were working in quite a few organizations. So, at which stage of, these changes that were happening in your career did you make a choice of doing the program?
Sure. Yeah, perhaps, while I was working, right, there are two choices one needs to make. Either you grow in the ladder, right, in the corporate world, right, or you want to be an entrepreneur, right? Being an entrepreneur is, something that happened accidentally. That was in 1999, when me and my friend were talking about solving some problem in the B2B integration space that I was referring to. So at that time, I thought, we are all, can really do things well. And we jumped in and, we started building the product. And those are good old days, right, where you could manage to really raise the money very easily. And we managed to really get a lot of VC money, and we built the product and we got the exit. But in the journey while we are at Netfish Technologies, I realized that, there is a lot that, we could have done better, right? So be it, go to market strategy, be it, marketing, and be, positioning better, with our competitors and whatnot. So we did, we managed to really do well, and finally we got an exit, but certainly we could have really done a lot of things better than what we did. So that's when I realized that, there is something that, we need to really do to really get that addressed. Instead of doing things in more in an ad hoc manner, can we really do that in a more structured manner? So I always wanted to do this program, right? Not necessarily at ISB, but I wanted to get into an executive MBA program. So that's when I realized, that I need to do an MBA, Smriti, to answer your question, right? So, but whether, I could have done that program in US, right? I was contemplating to really do this either at Kellogg's or at Harvard. But, given the lifestyle there and, what I was going through, I couldn't really do the program there. And because of, the family reasons, I made a transition to India in 2010, 12. So I was thinking about doing this in 2002, and until 2010 I couldn't do anything about it. So but as soon as I moved back to India, I was trying to really have a chat with Ajit Rangnekar, the dean at the time, and I was discussing with him about an executive program. Why can't we really have an executive program at ISB? And he said that they were thinking about it. I was part of an organization called TIE, and we were lucky to really have Ajit, connected well with the industry, and he was part of TIE as well. So we were having this conversation, and that's when he told me that they're planning to really have an executive MBA program at ISB. So I got lucky and I applied, and of course I got into ISB program. So the whole idea is, how can I really create structure to what we do in being an entrepreneur, and that is what helped me. And certainly ISB program is great program, right? It's we have two international immersions, right? One, we go to Kellogg US with Kellogg's and Harvard, and the second thing is we get a chance to really go to Brazil, being part of Funduke, right? So that international exposure, the professors that we really get, and the teaching faculty that we have at ISB together certainly helped me to really make the choice to do that MBA program at ISB. But wanting to do the MBA was very clear in my mind. I wanted to do that. But these are the reasons why I ended up doing this program at ISB.
Sure, Shyam. Thank you for answering that question for me. Moving to Rajendra. Rajendra, you have had a, very touchwood, I would say, but ideal kind of scenario where you have been with Lupin for 36 years, and Function also has been into operations for quite some time. So it's been, quite a home ground for you, being into Lupin and into operations. And in between, you thought of doing the program for you. So how did it work out for you, and what was the thought process behind doing such things?
Thank you, Smriti, for this question. I had done the management program, at almost the beginning of my career, that was 1985. And afterwards, though there had been, some programs, workshops, which, the company organizes, I did not have, any formal management program, for 20, 25 years. So it was very important for me, my career was at one stage where, I wanted to, enter into the executive management committee of the organization, where the top 10 leaders, run the company. So that's where, I was reaching that spot. And I had been working only on the technical functions, and I was to move into a global supply chain, which is more a techno-commercial role. That's why, this program, I thought that I should do it. And what has happened is that, I'm very happy to say that this was, completely sponsored by my organization. And they wanted me to do this program as much. I wanted to do this, and I could get that help from the organization so that I can move to the role of global supply chain head for Lupin, as well as I could enter the executive committee. And how does it help me, this program? Uh, as I said, I had no exposure to any other sector. So I had been only working in the pharma sector all my career. So that's why the cohorts which I had, the 60 cohorts which we had, my classmates, they came from very, very different industries. They came from the tech field, some of them were from the FMCG, some of them were from the entertainment industries, some of them were entrepreneurs. So what I learned, from them was really, really great. And that's where, you learn maximum when you have such a bunch of, people who are having almost say 15 to 30 years of experience. So all those, 1,000 or years of experience, what you get from these people. Apart from that, I had a very limited, exposure outside India, how it works. And when I was to take up the global supply chain role, where we had to deal with, all the different continents and different countries, because we sell in almost 100 countries our products. So there was no international exposure to me, and that was really provided by the PGPMAX course when we had the professors, each and every professor who came, they were, taking all the case studies, examples, which are all outside India mainly. And that's what really helped me to prepare for my next role. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajendra. Moving on to the next question that I have, again, I would like to start with the lady first. So, you know, any two important things that you learned from your journey at the PGP Max program, could be personal, could be professional, if you could share that with our audience.
So, I think one of the most important pieces, I would say, when you have a cohort which is as what my fellow panelists have also mentioned, is like it's a very mixed cohort where people are coming from varied backgrounds and extremely or highly experienced people. So there will be your classmates or colleagues who've been in the industries, and they are at much senior roles and levels than what you may be as an individual, right? So learnings that you are getting from them as a complete group together, right? So that's like it's immense. Trust me, I mean, there is nothing that can match that those learnings that you get from them. uh, and having to experience, it's like, you're living with that entire group of 50 or 60 people who are there with you, whom you have not never known in your lives. But you are getting to learn from them what you may not have even dreamt of. I think that's one of the best takeaways that I would say. And of course, there's a much larger alumni who are always willing to support you. I mean, I have personally, I would say I've seen that, I've experienced that. It's like, even for a small thing, if you just knock a door and somebody who is willing or who has the capacity to help, they will open the door for you. And I think that's one large thing that which has added a huge value to me as an individual on a personal level. And on the professional level, I think when you are moving from a simple business role to I would say a role which are more to do with designing, with more to do with business strategies. uh, the learnings that you are getting during the entire program, I think that really helps a lot, because you have not been into those roles or capacities where you're taking a larger decision for a larger you know uh, for a company as a whole, right? So you form a team. You How do you lead that? How do you get into that mode of looking at a problem in a different manner than just one small geography or one small location? So it just completely changes the way you look at the problems and the solutions that you are able to come up with. So are you looking at only, to share one small experience here? It's like, one of my previous organizations, it was a transition phase wherein, we were looking at restructuring the one of the verticals. So tough decisions to make, but at times you have to do it, because yes, there are certain requirements of the business. And but then how well do you do it in a balanced format, wherein business is taken care, people are taken care, and end of the day your revenues are taken care? Because, right, eh, it's just like whatever business that we ever conduct, one of the most important pieces is that your revenues are your bottom lines are taken care of. So yes, as I said, so it's like, learning wise, it's really immense. And then whatever you are learning at the during the program, uh, you are able to apply that into your daily work lives, so which is very, very good. And when you're able to apply them, you can see where the value addition is coming to you as as professionally, how that's helping you out then. So I think, yeah, so that's where I would say.
Sure. Thank you, Kaval. Moving on to Sham, you are amongst the, first who did the program in the group today that we have. So, what were your learnings at that point of time? Probably 10 years earlier. And, how has it changed over the years, or not changed, but, what all things you have added in those learnings through your work that you've been doing? You are on mute, Sham.
Yeah, thank you, Shruti. Yeah. So, well, when you're an entrepreneur, right, you think that you're doing everything right, right? Like I told you, while we are building the Netfish technologies, I know to myself that, we could have done a lot of things better. So when we really come to this program, let me try to put these things into two buckets. One, the tangible, benefits or value, and the other one is that intangible value that, Kanwal, was trying to refer to. Coming to these tangible benefits, there are a lot of tools and techniques are given to you, right? It's up to you on how you want to use them, either to really grow in the ladder or, being an entrepreneur, how do you want to effectively use them, right? So you have the toolbox and you have the toolkit. It's all up to you on how you want to use them. Interestingly, the toolkit will consist of everything that anyone requires to become a corporate leader or to become a great, a leader, by himself, right? And as an entrepreneur. So certainly I got the toolkit by best of the class, professors coming from, different parts of the world, right? And good to see people who taught at, Chicago Business School, Harvard, right? The Kellogg's, you just name it, even the London Business School, right? The current dean, taught us the negotiations for us. So you really get the best of the class, professors coming and teaching you and giving you the toolkit, and now it's up to you on how you want to use it, right? And that's a big thing. And certainly I used that, very extensively in my journey post that program, right, in 2010 or 11. And structure to your thinking, right? Now you tend to really do things in certain manner. You wanted to really create a structure to your thought process and try to execute things in that, structured manner. So if I have to really limit myself, these two, these are the two tangible benefits that I would say. Coming to the intangible benefits, right, there are plenty, particularly your peers, right? You sit in the class, you're very humbled. Everyone is as good as you are, probably better than you. What else do you want it? And they come from all walks of life, right? Some coming from like Rajender, the very good, manufacturing background, who handled very huge supply chain issues, right? And then coming from a software background, like you are, probably better than you. So the peer learning and what your peers bring to the class and the value that they add to you is, tremendous, and of course the alumni support, if you know how to really, get best use out of it, nothing can really come close to that. I'll just leave it at, that. And like my friend always says, right, he tells me once in a while that he has been a good human being and then a good CEO until he did his program. And after the program, he tells me that he is a good CEO and then a good human being because he felt that he is more responsible for the stakeholders, and therefore you have to be a good CEO than being a good human being, right? So it probably says that, the sequence changed for him. Okay, and when I really think about it, that's probably true, right? Smriti, look like now you get on to mute.
Yes, sorry, Ken. Thank you, Sham, for answering that question for us. Moving on to Rajendra, you also were like from the batch of 2013 and, almost completed 9 years now. So would you like to share any of your learnings with us, and how did it progress so far?
I think one learning which was very important for me, or it was a habit forming for me, was that reading. After having left education almost 25, 27 years back, and then going to the schools again, in between, what has happened that you tend to read less, and your patience level in reading becomes very, very low. So what happens in PGPMAX is that the number of subjects what we have, and for every subject, thousands, 1,500, 2,000 pages we have to prepare in preparation of those courses, and that improve your patience in reading. So this has really helped me in last 10 years, that if you get a investigation for out of specification which runs into 300, 400 pages, earlier probably at I will only look at the summary, executive summary, and make and decide on that. But now it has really helped me that reading, which has happened during PGPMAX, that I have got that habit of going through the long articles, and that's what helped me. And then the learning continues once you have done the PGPMAX, any new topic. Because if you are not learning new things, especially in the pharma, which is changing so much every year, and that's what has improved my learning capability, reading capability. That was one. And then the second one, again, I will say it's a personal thing which I have improved, is on the participation in the various meetings, where earlier I was, we talk only when needed, or which is related to my function. But after those 6 p.m. Group discussions every day, which we used to have in PGPMAX, after that, it has really helped me, to talk about not only on your subject but on the others functions, and that's what really helped me and become more extrovert as compared to what introvert I was before PGPMAX. So these are the two personal improvements which I had after PGPMAX.
Sure. Thank you, Rajendra. Thank you for answering that question. And the next question that I have is the most asked question by the audience in every conversation that we have with them. And I'm assuming they would also love to hear your thoughts on this. So about the ROI of the program. So, when you joined the program, obviously at that point of time, it was an expensive program, and the fees has been increasing over the years, definitely. So for everyone, the return of investment calculation is different. Some people, try to calculate it in terms of monetary returns that they would get after graduating the program. Some classify it into the learnings or the networking that they receive for life. So what was going on in your mind in terms of the investment that you're putting in into the program? So, probably starting with Rajendra this time, if that's
So if you talk about what is the type of investment which you have done, right? We call it an investment, not an expenditure, and because it's going to pay you back. Uh, so at that time, in our time, I think it was around 38 lakhs, and then if you add the trips to US, Brazil, and the amount of time which you are taking out from your normal job. So for my organization, the investment was almost a crore of rupees, and so that's why I feel that I had discussed this with my MD. After 2, 3 years, that the company has spent 1 crore almost on these courses, for including the time which I have spent in ISP. So, so do you see a difference? And as far as my boss, so he said that yes, we see, and already as per him, the payback happened in 2 years. the amount of, the savings and other things which I was able to bring into the organization. So as far as they are concerned, yes, the payback happened in 2 years, and it will vary from, person to person. But whatever cohorts I had with me, and whenever we discuss this topic, it is varies from 2 years to 5 years.
Sure, Rajendra. I hope the audience would get a flavor and understanding of what to see in terms of the ROI and what to expect from the program. So moving on to Kamal, probably sharing your experience of the ROI.
So I think Rajendra is very aptly put it across on the ROIP. So as I personally feel it's very subjective, because now there are always two ways you could look at it, right? So one could be the monetary piece, the financial part to it, and the other is the learning. So how do you really weigh that vis-a-vis? I mean, how do you weigh each of them individually, or how do you compare the two of them? So personally, I feel that yes, for me, in terms of the monetary piece, yes, it has been what Rajendra has put across nicely is like, anywhere between 2 to 4 years is what you could look at, your break evens, or I should rather say that, you are profitable in terms of the investment oblique expense, how you may want to put it, individually. So you'll be able to recover that bit. That's one way to look at it. And in terms of the learnings that you receive, and it's an ongoing thing. It's not like, once you are over and out with the program, it is over or it stops there. It does not. I personally feel that, so one level is where you are learning from the cohort and from the profs at the campus or during the program. Then the major bit is like when you are interacting with the alumni across the group. That learning and that value add, I think, is immense. There is absolute no I would say figure that you can put on that bit, because it's purely up to you how much you want to take away with you. It's purely up to you, because ISB technically opens up a platform for you, and how much you want to invest into it, how much you want to learn out of it, is purely as an individual up to you. The more you invest yourself into the program, into the entire set of opportunities what ISB is laying forward for you, the more you take away from there, and there's no end to it. So that's for my side. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Kamal. I think that aptly says the more you give, the more you get, sort of a thing.
Absolutely. So it's very simple, right? So if when you are now, if we talk about PGPMAX, right, it's we are all working professionals. There's we will need to create a balance somewhere between our work as well as during the course of the program, right? So, and if we're not able to spend that time that we are spending or putting that expense for, or investment for, we'll not take away much then we'll just go back home and say, okay, I got a certificate from ISB and that's it. Has it added value for you as an individual? I don't think so it would have then, unless you invest into it. It's simple as that, right?
Definitely. Totally with you on this, Kamal. Shyam, so your take on this, on the ROI. I know you have lots of thoughts running in your mind, and would really love to hear from you on this.
Sure, sure. I'm not too sure what it costs today, Smriti, if you don't mind me asking.
So the fees today is 41.6 plus the GST, so would totally come to around 49.
Sure, sure. So no, I agree with Kanwal and other people, right? It's very subjective, right? How do we measure an ROI on something that you get to learn, right? I'll go back to this question. When I was running Minds, my CFO was asking me, Shyam, you're training all these people and you're investing the money on that. What if you train them and leave, right? I ask him one simple question, right? I'm sure probably this is a WhatsApp joke as well, right? What if I don't train them and if they really decide to stay back in the organization, right? So that's exactly what it is, right? So it's a learning. and you get to really learn for what you really decide to do. And you can really use these learnings in several ways. And unless you really measure, I'm not too sure, whether I can answer that ROI question. But for me, it every year, one way or the other, in some form and shape, I get to use some learnings. And I'm sure, these implementations that, I do in the organization will give me a lot of indirect savings, right? Probably, people like Rajendra who are in the manufacturing, they can measure that value directly. But for me, right, be it a strategy implementation, be it negotiation, right, even during the M&A time, right? So probably I would have really left it to an investment banker to really decide, a lot of things. And I could really give my own, 2 cents to that whole process. And now I'm able to really read the balance sheet much better than, before. I can understand and I can really sit with my CFO and really get to the nitty gritty of that balance sheet, whether he likes it or not, right? So there's so much that goes in, and I wish I can really put a number to every of that learning that I had and implemented to come up with this ROI. So it's a learning, right? You need to really invest to really learn, either to really grow up in the corporate ladder, or you want to be a better individual as an entrepreneur. And that's my take. And I don't think there are any qualms about the value it created to me as an individual for the investment I made, right? But if you want to really take this as another investment bucket and compare with what is going on in other investments, and wanted to see whether it really added the same value or not, that's very difficult. But certainly, I don't have any qualms about my investment into this, right? And it is a learning experience, and there is a lot of indirect value that it gives to you, right? So particularly to want to grow in a corporate ladder, right? That learning, that addition to you, it automatically makes you qualified, for you to really grow in that organization. And I have seen with my colleagues, right, the gentleman who was just heading the procurement department, become the CEO of the same organization after the program, right? So I'm sure, 2 years of worth of time, made him a CEO in the same company. And even personally myself, it added so much value that I could utilize and implement for a lot of cost savings, I would say. Yeah.
Thank you, Shyam. Thank you for answering that question. So the next question I'll pick up is from Kaval. You just mentioned about the balancing act of professional, personal life both, and added on with the studies to this group. So, how did you manage all of it? I assume it would have been very hectic, and uh, I can sense that, but, give us some tips on how to manage all of these together.
So yes, it is. I think it's extremely high paced to begin with, right? So in our to share, like, first term when we were on campus, and we had decision making as our first subject, and trust me, it is like, it's overwhelming. So no matter how much you've been into all of that practically, but when you get down with the books and the props and your cohort with you, you will be really overwhelmed with the entire thing. So it's not easy. It is certainly not easy, but trust me, it's like, it really pulls you out of your comfort zones, and it pushes you to an extent that you will automatically get into that groove, and you will start doing what is required. So as I earlier also mentioned, it's the time and energy that you put into it. So when you are coming for individual terms, so best thing would be do some pre-learnings, as what we were already provided with, that come prepared to an extent, but don't come blank is what I would recommend. But at the same time, do not come with some, like, okay, I know it all piece as well, because what you will learn during the course of the terms, or during the course of the program, it will completely uh, change the way you look at things. So come with a purely open mind and open to learn. and automatically things will fall in place. Yes, it's not easy, as I said. You will need to balance work, your family, your personal bit into it. There's a lot of, and if you're into a traveling job or work wise, so you'll have to manage a lot. And I mean, personally, I was in a lot of travel work wise, so I would be like, I think I was traveling almost about 20-25 days in a month in that period. But yes, it's fun because it gives you a lot of yes, it I think exhausts you to an extent, but at the same time it gives you a lot of energy as well, that because you want to do it and you have the zeal to do it. So I think it'll balance out automatically. It's just the first term which will be a little more challenging, but once you are into it, you'll be totally into it. You may not even want to come back to just the professional bit, because you start looking forward to being at the campus and attending those terms and meeting everyone at the campus, because that's how the learning goes. So your enthusiasm will be much more, and you'll be much more energized to even at your workplace, because you go back with all those learnings and you want to really apply them and see how that's going to impact your line of business. So that's where the whole energy comes in.
Yeah, thank you, Kahal. I hope the audience would have noted down some points to be used when they are in the program. Shyam, moving on to you, I assume it would have been, in fact, equally difficult for you also to manage the work, the entrepreneurship, that thing that you were working on, and the studies together, and of course applying these learnings and coming back to the profs to check on the questions that you have. So how did you manage all of this?
Certainly, yeah. Thank you, Smriti. I don't have any qualms to say that it's overwhelming, right? And that's the word that I would like to use, and that's very reason why I, even though I was wanting to do something like this in US, while I was in US, I couldn't do that because it's very really difficult to balance the work, family, and of course whatever this course demands, right? And there is always this worry, or maybe nagging worry, I would say, that going back to school after long break, right? Can you really even cope up, right? With the demands of the school and whatnot. My only 2 cents to the audience, is make sure you are very committed before you get into this program, and your family signed off as well, right? So there are a lot of compromises, I would say, if you're serious about the program, right? And because you have to really get into the campus for 6 days in 6 weeks. I assume it is the same format, Smriti, even now, right?
Yes, it is.
So you really completely cut off for the 6 days from the family, and you're in the campus. And not only from the family, to a very large extent from the work as well. Here and there, you may really reply to an email, but I'm sure you won't do any quality work during the 6 days when it comes to office. So I just want to make sure you're really signed off with your family, and you're seriously committed, and then probably the rest will fall in place, right? And the only thing that will happen is, even after the program, there is a lot that you have to do, like a school kid, you have to do a lot of case studies, homework, reading, and whatnot. And I still remember my daughter once in a while, and not my daughter, my son, right? He comes to me once in a while and says that, Daddy, you're still in the same, third page, from morning. Probably I can really do a better, faster reading than you, right? So you really get stuck. I just want to make sure, as I said, you're really committed to it, before you signed up to this program. And probably, right, the weekends, you tend to do a lot of catch up, particularly for the coursework, and preferably on the office work as well. That gives a little time to the family. You just have to really mentally prepare and do that balance. But it is going to be a wonderful experience, like I told you guys, right? So once you get out of the classroom, bunch of colleagues, right? Very overwhelming discussions, either be it on a case study or a project work that you want to really do, right? So you slowly overcome, and I agree with Kanwal what you said, right? Initial couple of terms, you find it, very difficult, overwhelming, and then, you kind of, adjust to yourself and then probably plan things, accordingly. I don't see it, very difficult, but as I said, it comes with its own set of challenges, but please be prepared. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Rajendra. Thank you for telling us that. And definitely, I agree with you that all the stakeholders, including the family, the colleagues, the bosses, everybody has to be on the same page so that, you uh, are, uh, justifying the time and investment of money that you have put into the course. So, Rajendra, your thoughts on how to manage and balance everything at work, home, and the studies as well.
So, so as far as work is considered, I think it increases because when you are not there for almost a week, every 6 weeks, the work which you are supposed to do, you are supposed to do in that time. So anyway, the intensity of work increases when you are not in the school. And as far as the study is considered, I think it's almost every 2 hours every day probably you have to spend in those 5 weeks when you are preparing for the courses for the next this, subjects when they are coming. So what is actually suffers is the family life, I feel, and those 2 hours of time which generally you spend with the family in the late evenings and all. So you will have to sacrifice that, and also on the weekends you have to sacrifice some time away from the family. But what happens that ISB always, calls your family at the beginning of the course, and they are briefed on this. The family was expecting, that there will be for 1.5 year, the Rajendra will not be, will have to spend time even after coming home for studies. Also, what has happened that I had to travel a lot, so some of this time which study time I used to do during the travel. So that way, but it is a tough 1.5 year. But once you are get used to it for a couple of months and couple of sessions, I think you get used to that. Your family get used to this also, and also your colleagues get used to this. So it's still a great fun, at the end of the PGPMAX.
Yeah, thanks, Rajendra. I forgot about that family integration that ISB tries to do, right? That's very important point that you mentioned. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you everyone for answering the questions that I had. I know I have taken up a lot of the audience's time today for for asking my set of questions, but I hope they were useful to them and would have answered a lot of queries in their minds. So, audience, we open up for Q&A now. So I already have a few set of questions in my Q&A box. So I'll be asking those questions. In the meantime, please do type in your questions and queries that you would like our panelists to answer it for you. So the first question that I have, and anyone of you can have a take on it. So Senthil is asking, how many capstone projects do we have to do, and what were the challenges that we faced during this journey, as we need to strike balance between family time versus job and career time? So Senthil, some part of it is already answered, but definitely the panelist, I hope, would like to answer it in detail.
Maybe, I can, give it a stab at it, right? So is it Anthony?
No, Senthil was asking it.
Yeah, yeah. So Senthil, what happens is, at least, when I was doing this program, you will have generally ISB, when you really get into this program, they divide the students into groups, right? So that becomes a group assignment or a group case study, right? So you all sit together and work on that case study or an assignment, right? So several ways you can accomplish, right? You can really divide that into several pieces, and each one really come and contribute to that whole case study, or collectively can really do that, so that it doesn't become very overwhelming exercise. And this is not something that you don't necessarily have to do it in the campus. You can take it home, you can get onto your call, right? And probably can do this. So I don't think these case studies are going to really make you compromise on your family life to a very large extent, as long as you can really do the time management right. So if anyone wants to add more to it, feel free to do that.
I think, Sham, apart from what you just said, so on an average, if we take per term, right? So two subjects per term. On an average, I think there will be 2 to 4 case studies per term. So it could be on campus and off campus, all put together. Balance, of course, it is again on the discussion of the prof, because some of them may want to add more. So it again depends there as well. So if they want to add on more workload for you off campus, so they will do it. But yeah, average I think would be about 3 to 4 per term.
And only I just wanted to add one thing about the groups, that every session they keep on changing the group. So every time
Yes.
what the group is there, there will be always new members, and that's the way they have ISB designs it. And so you learn a lot whenever you get the new people and their experiences when they share it during the case study, and that's what a great learning. So that's why I said 6 to 9 or 6 to 10 sometimes. And if there are a lot of arguments, it can go up to 12 midnight also. But I think this case studies and the discussion, I will never forget what we used to do in ISP. That was the most, entertaining as well as learning experience for me.
You will be more energized, Senthil, than feeling overwhelmed. Being part of those groups and doing those case studies and putting your perspective to the case study.
Sure. I hope that answers your question, Senthil. The next question that we have is from Anto, and he's asking, how did the panelists use the ISB program after completion to move into their next bigger roles? And what was the strategy they used post completion?
Rajendra, probably you're a better placed. Go ahead. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think some of the programs, the subjects which were really helpful to me was the various subjects on the finance part, where the whole the costing, the pricing was really helpful to me. I did not have much exposure to that earlier, but that is what really helped me. Also, the subjects on the organization development really help to understand the how do you structure your function. Some of the other subjects like mergers and acquisitions. So definitely we had those cases, couple of cases where we were in the, had to acquire some organizations, so factories. So that really helped me, what we learned. And of course, the last course which we had was on the negotiation, and that will be, always be great and will be helpful not only in profession but always also outside. So these are all things which are really really helps you in your work.
So just to add to Rajendra, so another aspect here is that some of the organizations, they also uh, help, or they also promote people who are into such executive programs, and because that's adding on to their overall, I would say, not just the knowledge bit but also on the experience bit. So that's one thing, that you can always connect with your respective supervisors or your HRs before maybe you enroll, because they'll also give you a better understanding that is there anything like that in your respective organization where they have those kind of facilities, or they give those kind of leeways to the employees, where if they go in for such executive programs from Cat A school, so is there any kind of promotion, monetary wise or role wise, that way? So you could explore that bit as well, and that will also help you in understanding that what is it that you can expect from your current organization. So overall, that will also give you a perspective there.
Sure. Thank you for answering that question. The next question, in fact, an attendee has two questions. I'll ask the first part of the question first. So, if you had not gone through the PGPMAX course, would you have reached a place where you are now professionally?
Yeah, I will answer that. So it's very difficult, to tell exactly whether you will be able to reach what you have reached. Say today, I'm president of manufacturing, and whether I would have reached this position if I had not done PGPMAX. So what has really helped me is improving my efficiency, improving my, the working style, improving my communication with various team members. So probably it would have taken me there, but probably a couple of years more than what I would have reached there without doing the PGP back. So that's my, guesstimate, I will say, but it will vary from person to person.
Yeah, just to really add what Rajendra said, it's a very interesting question, though. Well, it's very hard for me to say whether I would have achieved what I achieved had I not done this program. Because you will know when you really fail, right? Maybe this program indirectly help you not to go through that failure, right? So how do we recognize that? Yeah, this program really helped me not to fail, and therefore, I am here, what I am. But to be direct, right? Certainly there are, certain things that at least I personally implemented through this program learnings, be it M&A, right? The way I really look at the finance and the balance sheet, right? And the way I executed the strategy, when it comes to the go-to-market, right? So these are all things that I have done a little differently after my PGP Max program. But had I not attended the program, had I not achieved what I achieved, that's very difficult to answer. But I can say that, I taken these learnings and implemented them in the process for me to really get to what, I wanted to really get to. Right. Yeah. So I just wanted to leave it there. But it's a very good question, though, whoever it is.
Sure. Thank you so much. Yeah. In fact, yes, a very different sort of a question that we have received from this person today. The next question that we have from him is, what is your experience in leveraging the alumni network directly by you or what you have observed?
A lot. It's like another cohort, right? First reach is your own class, and the second reach is alumni network, and the third reach is the school itself, right? Again, it's all the intent. When you have the intent and when you want to really, get value out of the alumni, the sky is the limit, right? I don't think I have any qualms about it. It's a beautiful network, and it is a cult by in itself, I would say that, right? So you need help. The first thing that comes to your mind is your own classmates, right? So you reach out to them, try to bring a conversation based on the relevance of the experience, and then naturally, if you don't get that help, you try to reach out to the alumni network. And there are so many alumni networks, thanks to WhatsApp today, life has become a little easier when you want to take that help. And the third thing is the school is always there for you to really reach out, right? So I don't have any hesitation to say that I have taken the help of that alumni. And the most important thing is school has a lot of things, to do really, for you to contribute or for you to really involve. And if you wanted to really do that, you always can go to the school and be part of those networks as well. Okay, so I am part of some, angel network system that, ISB has, right? So I am, directly involved, and, being, an angel investor and being part of that ecosystem. And I try to really, do whatever I can really do at the ISB as well. Yeah. So I leave it to others to really add more to it. Rajendra or Kanwal.
So I think Sham has already like put it in a very nice manner. In one of my, I think, previous points, I had also said that it is purely up to you. So ISB has practically opened the door for you. It's up to you how much you want to take away from there. So as an individual, as a professional, personally, professionally, it's a world open, right? So the more you invest into it, the more you gain out of it. That's simple. Simple two words is what I would say. Invest more and gain more. Simple as that. There is no dearth to opportunities that come to you. There is, if let's say for example, like Sham was part of a lot of angel investors platforms and alike. So you want to start something, you need an guidance to it. You need to understand how to move forward. You need some tech support to it. There's everything readily available, but it's up to you. Do you want to utilize it? You want to use it in a good manner and give back to the institution? Is again like you have to take that call. Only thing is the platform is there. How much you're able to take away is purely as an individual up to you. Nobody can help there. It's an open world. Come and take it as long as it's in a good manner. Simple.
So I just
Yes,
want to
Raj.
add a few things here, that apart from, what the WhatsApp group you have and any queries on pharma, if somebody has, they will always, put it there or call me. Or if I have some queries on, some vendors and all, I can always, reach my cohorts. Apart from that, the complete batch, and I will not say complete batch, but at least 50% of the batch mates, we meet every year, and for 2 to 3 days. And that's the time we discuss how the year has passed, how the changes have happened in your career, your family life. And that's where again we learn a lot, during these 2 3 days. So apart from that, from these 60, you make, very close friends, say 5 to 6. And that's what, has happened to me also. So we always meet, once in 2 3 months. And that's what, will be there for your lifelong, such type of friendship. That's the gain I got from this.
Just to share another experience with you also. Last, I think, 2 to 3 years, we've seen one of the most challenging experiences of our lives, right? The COVID era. So I know personally, I mean, there have been instances wherein some of the alums have come forward to support us. I mean, I personally had a lot of, I would say, COVID cases within the family. We lost family members to COVID as well. But trust me, it's like people did come forward in terms of support, in terms of helping us get the medicines or getting access to doctors for treatment. So the only thing is, as I said, it's like you have to reach out to people, and people, they say yes. I haven't come across any alum so far who would have said I can't help or I will not help. If they can help, they can do something, they will definitely go out of the way to do it. I mean, that's my personal experience, and that's a beautiful piece that I carry with me, that proud to say as an ISB alum. Uh, my fellow alums, I hope someday they will be able to say that for me as well, that, whenever we approach Kamal and she's able to help. So that's how the experience has been so far. So kudos to the alumni for that bit, and kudos to ISB for that, because that ISB has created that culture with the alums, so where people are willing to and are able to help and support each other.
Sure. Thank you. The next question that I have is ISB Alumni Association, which is a part of the school but outside the school. How useful is it to join that group? If
No,
any one of you have had experiences with it.
no, I didn't quite understood the question, Shmiti. Do you mind?
So there are two alumni engagements that we have. One is a part of the school, which is called the alumni engagement,
Mhm.
and the other is an alumni association, which is formed by the alumni of the school. So, how do you think will it be useful if the person joins that group, and will it be useful at all?
Well, anyone wants to? Yeah, go ahead, Kanwal. I have a
Yeah,
point.
no, it's okay. So
Mm.
I was just about to say, so there are various chapters across the globe, right? Now it is up to you. What exactly are you looking for? I mean, there are specialist groups which are there. There is a complete alumni all group as well. So if you're looking at just a simple, I would say in terms of staying connected with people across the globe, you can always just be part of that and be active participant and learn and gain there, or whatever you can give back to the alumni there. Apart from, there are special groups wherein which are with respect to certain industries, certain programs, or like, so if you're looking at something specific, let's say if you're looking at a startup kind of a thing, so there is a group which is primarily into startups, and there are groups which are into edtech, for example, or they're into fintech. So you can always be selective, and you can be part of those groups which you feel that will add value to you. Or alternatively, there's an alumni all, which is complete alumni group. So it's up to you.
Sure. Thank you so much. The next question that I have is, how do you take up the conversation with your employer for taking time off from work and invest it into upskilling yourself? So basically, how do you convince your organization and your managers or bosses that you'll be doing this course?
For me, that was not a big issue because it was sponsored by the company, and so I did not have that issue.
Sure.
For
Kamal,
me,
Shyam, if you
yeah.
have any points there.
Yeah,
So
I'll add.
yeah. So for me, yes, I did have to have a discussion with my supervisor on this. But yes, uh, being a top performer, right? So that was one additional advantage, or I would say support that I have, because my boss understood it very well, that why I want to do this program and how it is going to help me personally and professionally, and where is it that I can add value to the company post the program or during the course of the program. Yes, it is. It will be required to discuss this, because you will need to invest a lot of time out of your work hours into the program. So your team, if you have you have a team of direct reportees to you, they have to understand and they have to be prepared accordingly. And your boss, your supervisor, has to be confident and comfortable that you will be able to manage work in your absence, or your team shall be able to manage what all needs to be managed in your absence. So you have to be very, very confident, and you have to ensure that that's taken care, so that there are no last minute surprises for your boss, where he has to step in your absence. So discussion, yes, is important. So start with, like, why you need to do this program and how it is going to help you, and where you're going to, how you will be able to add value to the company through the program. So I think that is essentially will take care of uh, getting a consent from your supervisor.
Sure. Thank you, Kamal. I hope that was useful. The next question that I have is
Uh,
for, yes,
just to add to what Kanwal says,
yes,
right?
please. Yes, please.
So, anyone in an organization, right? One, they wanted to grow, right? And companies also look at you to grow in the organization. And two, they look at you to add value, right? For both of them to happen, right? You need to really get upskilled. And I don't think organizations will have any hesitation to really listen to you, but you wanted to go prepared and present on how you're going to add value by going through this program, right? Whether they're really going to sponsor the program or not, at least for them to allow you, because there is a lot of cost of opportunity, right? You have to be outside the office for 6 days and 6 weeks, and you invest a lot of time in doing other things. So just make sure you clearly can add value, and also it helps in growing in your organization. If you can really present this well, I don't think organizations see any issue in letting you do what you wanted to do. Yeah, yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Shyam, for adding on to it. In fact, the next question that I have is for you only. How can the program, the PGPMAX program, accelerate the progression of an entrepreneur?
Well, in a lot of ways, right? I'm not too sure, the audience, at what stage are they in their entrepreneurial journey. If they're already successful, you will, like I keep telling you, right? It's what you get is set of tools, right? And I'm sure, you if you being a successful entrepreneur, you have done things in certain way. And I'm sure, in that journey, you would have realized that you could have done a lot of things very differently, particularly in the go-to-market strategy and M&A, and the way you negotiate things, the way you do the financial planning, right? And a bunch of things, and be it the strategy, right? So if you're already successful, if you really look back and then reflect on your journey, I'm sure you will figure out there are a lot of things that you could have done differently. But if you're not an entrepreneur, there is no questions, and it adds tremendous value. And every course that you really do adds enough value on how you want to really execute things, right? So whether it's a PGPMAX program or something else, but certainly a structured business learning will help you to really be a successful entrepreneur.
See, a couple of things
Yes.
wanted to add here is that we had one classmate of ours who was in the family business and doing very well. But after the program, he got motivated to start his separate concern, and that company is doing so well in last 8 9 years. And also some of our codes have left the corporate job and they have become an entrepreneur after doing the PGPMAX, and they are also doing very well. Almost 10 of them from our batch have moved from the corporate to their own organization.
Sure. Thank you, Rajendra, for adding to that. For now, we have come to the end of the session. But before we close the session, any tips from the panelists to our audience today who are looking forward to join the PGPMAX course? Like, we can begin with Kaval.
So, say if you, I will just say one bit here. So it's basically, if you are really keen on it, you're serious about it, just stay committed. And yes, you will need a lot of energy to go through it. Not I would say it's not that easy, but it's not that you can't do it. Just stay committed to it, and you'll sail through it. The experience itself will help you, I think, move forward and help you achieve what you are wanting to achieve through this.
Sure. Thank you, Kaval. Rajendra, would you like to add to it?
So I think when we are doing this course, what we used to do, it may be helpful, it may not be helpful to, but what we like, I belong to Mumbai, and we had almost, 13 to 14 course in Mumbai. So all of us used to meet every Saturday for 2 to 3 hours, to discuss about the course and the next subject which we are going to, and that really helped everyone going through. Or there are some projects which we are doing, supposed to do during those 5 weeks when we are in Mumbai. So that also really helps when we meet, and at least we found it very very good that where we are able to take the help of each other, and that bonding also happens. So we used to meet every Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. Okay, I think they said whatever it is, but just to really add to what see, it's like cost of opportunity, right? So you can come out of what you're doing, and then you can really do this course full time. But that's cost of opportunity. So certainly it's a lot of balance between work and what you do otherwise. So you need to really balance this well, right? And probably form smaller cohorts within that larger cohort, and try to take that help as needed and sail through that. And certainly the first two terms are going to be challenging, but once you really get through that hump, right, you will be just find it very balanced and you can really sail through.
Uh, Thank you everyone for joining us today, and thank you panelists. It was wonderful to have you, and I really hope the audience today got some pointers by understanding your journey and learning more about it. Audience, what I have done, I have put in a link in the chat box where you can book a one-to-one session with us, just in case you want to connect with the alums again to have a conversation with them, or you want us to review your profile in case you're interested for the program. So please feel free to use the link and book a conversation with us. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you, panelists. It was wonderful having you again. And have a happy weekend.
Thank you, Smriti.
Thank you.
Thank you, Smrit. Thanks everyone. Bye. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.